apply lean startup principles to a large organization?
Well, you know, I think some of the examples I just used are, I would be running large numbers of experiments, and by the way, lean is a complement to, anybody hear about design thinking at all? So design thinking is the antithesis of the customer development process, meaning the tools look a lot the same. You get out of the building, you talk to customers, you do prototypes, but design thinking actually was built by IDEO and Stanford and popularized with the work they did at Procter & Gamble, which says, look, we start with understanding a customer segment, and we don't know what the new products are for that segment, but let's go experiment by iterating on prototypes. And we're going to build prototypes, and we're going to try to understand customer needs and desires and figure out, you know, what can we build that fits that market. Customer development, the part that I invented that works with a lean startup, starts with a completely different direction. It says, and because it's driven by Silicon Valley history, I'm starting already with a product idea. That's just the nature of Silicon Valley. It was engineering driven, saying, I've invented X, oops, I just got funded. Oops. Anybody know what happens when you just get funded to a CEO? Anybody know what happens? Heartburn. And in fact, lack of sleep. Because all of a sudden the countdown clock has just started. Anybody know what you're counting down? Burn rate. Right? You in fact, the day you found a company that's gotten funded in Silicon Valley based on a product, you are in a desperate race to find customers and market. You're looking for product market fit, but in this case, you started with product, you're looking for customers, and you're in a desperate race to do that. And so customer development is driven by extreme urgency. It's a huge idea. You do not sleep well. You make sure your staff is not sleeping well. And while you might be building the product, you're desperately looking for product market fit, whether it's social media or hardware or Tesla or SpaceX or whatever. You've got that technical idea, but you're struggling to find customers. And by the way, you will start making good enough decisions rather than perfect decisions. In a startup, there's only two types of decisions: revocable decisions and irrevocable decisions. Idea is a revocable decision. Gee, we're arguing about features or order of features or which channel. They could all be rolled back in another month or so, where we could change them. Irrevocable features, who to take money from, how much equity, to sign a 10-year lease, those are kind of irrevocable in a startup. The rule in a startup is if you're a great startup CEO, you do not have a meeting without finalizing revocable decisions in that one meeting. And what that means is startups operate at speed such that they're making 10 decisions by the time a large company is still scheduling the conference room. Big idea. And they'll roll back 4 of them by the time that big company schedules the meeting, and you know, maybe have rolled back another 2, but they're moving forward. Why I tell you this is the design thinking, there's nothing wrong with it. It's actually quite good for areas where urgency isn't an issue. It's not that you can't overlay urgency on design thinking, but it's not an integral part of the process. And it's perfect, actually, for places where you actually understand the customer and don't know what product. And so to answer your question, it turns out that corporates now have 2 tools to investigate new spaces. Design thinking can start with, I understand my customer segment, let's spend some time on needs finding, and we could spend all the time we want till we find it. Or we could have some engineering-driven products where we understand the technology, but we desperately need to find the customers.